Hi, my name is Megan Atavle, and I'm the CEO of a company called LUMOplay. I have spent the last 15 years of my life making interactive experiences, and my friends and I built a platform so that you can do it too. Today, I'm going to show you how to make this interactive heart-shaped Valentine for your floor with a template that we call disco dots. It's only going to take a few minutes of your time, and when you're done, you're going to know how to make this yourself. Making the heart-shaped disco dots experience that I just showed you is very simple. You're just going to open your version of LUMOplay, either LUMO Playmaker or LUMO Playground. Very quickly, the difference is that LUMO Playmaker is meant for agencies and for people who make a lot of custom content, and it waives the publishing fee, whereas LUMO Playground has a publishing fee of, I think, about $80 US every time you publish a custom app. Prices are listed right on our site at lumoplay.com if you want to check it out, or you can leave a comment below and I will provide a link to our pricing page. There's probably also one in the description. I'm not sure yet because we haven't done it yet. So to make the Disco Dots app, I'm going to click on Motion Maker and I'm going to look for the Disco Dots template, click Create, and that gives me a nice big canvas to test my app in while I'm making it. And the first thing that I always do is name the app, so I'm going to call it Heart-Shaped Valentine. And that's everything that you do is saved as you go, so you don't need to click save until you're done, but if you want to, you can. First section that I'm going to edit is the overlays section, and that is not a section that I normally use in my tutorials, so I'm kind of excited to use it today. I'm going to add an idle animation. The idle animation appears when nobody is interacting. So it's usually a text message or an image that invites people to play or just lets them know that something's happening. One of my cardinal rules for interactive floors in particular is that something should always be moving. If you just have a static image on the floor, chances are nobody's going to try and interact with it, or if they do, they won't interact as much. So if you have something that is already moving, it'll draw the eye and it'll encourage people to step on it and engage with it a little bit more often. I've turned the alpha on this way up, but you can make these idle animations transparent if you want to. And that's basically it. If you don't want it animating, if you don't want it bouncing up and down like that, you can turn that off right here. So I've done my idle, and now I'm just going to add the mask, which is something else that I haven't really done in most of my tutorials, so this is pretty cool. The mask is, like the idle image, also a PNG with a transparency. So it's really just this black fill with these white outlines, and that goes over top of everything and is not interactive. So that is going to be the mask that I'm going to use. And one of the things that I wish I would have done on the floor but I didn't have time is creating a custom screen for this would look really, really cool. But unfortunately in my lab, I'm a little bit limited in terms of the space I have, so we're just using the floor I have. I'm not going to cut it into a heart shape. For the background, I'm going to replace this background with a different video, and you're going to notice something right away. So as soon as this background comes up, you can see it's very, very light suddenly, even though you can see in the background image that it's quite a dark pink. So the reason that this is happening is because these shapes have a glow on them. And if I turn that glow intensity all the way down, I'll be able to see my video color. The other thing that you'll notice is that these colors kind of don't go with the background as much. So I'm going to change those. I'm going to make my hearts, or I'm going to make the color white, and I'm going to change the shape of the dots that are interactive to hearts. There's also some adjustments that you can make to things like spacing and size. So I'd like to make the hearts a little bit smaller, maybe a little bit closer together, but I want to be able to see the hearts going by in that video, even though it's very subtle. Now, the idle image will disappear when people are interacting, but if I use the white as my default for my hearts, then you're not really going to see that. So I'm going to change that color to more of a dark purple so that there's some contrast. And I actually do really like the blues and greens in there. So I think I might leave the rest of this as is. The other things that you have the ability to edit in this effect are the shape behavior. So this impacts how quickly they change. So if I don't want them to change as quickly, I can turn that down a little bit. So it's a little bit more, the effect is a little slower. And I can also change the reset time. So if I wanted them to stay changed for longer, the reset time will allow me to do that. I just noticed something in the overlay that I'd like to change back to. I'm going to turn this reset time back down. Now this idle image disappears when interacting and comes right back when you stop interacting. And I don't want it to come back that quickly. So I'm going to adjust the idle timeout. And that is going to slow down the amount of time that it takes before that idle comes back. That's maybe a little bit too slow, so we'll adjust that again. And this is one of the nice things about using these templates, is that you can kind of jump back and forth as you go and test the app as you go. That felt like a better amount of time to me. Propagation delay is another really interesting one. So if I delay the propagation on this, you'll see it changes the behavior of how the colors affect one another. So each one of these hearts, when I touch it, goes through a color cycle based on the colors that are chosen in the last step. And propagation delay and propagation limit will change the speed at which that happens, and also how many of the hearts it affects. So if I want any interaction to kind of slowly change all of the colors on the heart, I can turn this limit way up and it'll almost go all the way across the heart. I am going to limit it to a smaller area because I find that's a little bit more effective on the floor. And I'm going to turn this delay down because I want the effect to happen very quickly. And then my reset time I'm also going to turn down so that it changes back a little bit more quickly. So as you play with these tools, you'll get a better sense of what each one of them do. And then the last thing in the shapes behavior is the idle animation, which is the animation that appears on the shapes themselves when no one is interacting. And you can very easily see that every so often a big blue bloom will show up. I like that, so I'm going to leave it, but I'm going to turn the timeout up again, just like I did on the idle animation, so that these don't appear right away when movement stops. And then the idle animation speed, obviously, if you turn that up, the changes are going to take place more quickly. So I like to leave it down. I don't think it needs to be too fast. And lastly, you can add music to these effects, and that's a really fun way to add something else interactive to your effect. You can put in a track. We recommend using audio that is no longer than about 3 minutes. 1 minute is usually ideal, but that can also become a bit repetitive. So up to 3 minutes. The details about what kind of format of audio is accepted in these templates are in the written tutorial, which is linked in the description. And what you can do is you can set 2 different volumes. You can set your idle volume for the music and your active volume. So the idle volume is going to be what is happening when no one is interacting, and the active volume is going to be what happens when somebody starts walking or playing with your effect. And that means that when someone starts to play with an effect, you can actually put in a sound that plays and gets gradually louder, and then it fades away when they stop engaging. And that just gives you one more interactive element that people can play with. You can even layer that on top of an audio track in your video itself. Now, any audio that's put into the video is going to stay at the same volume, but you can layer this additional track on top to create some really interesting interactive effects. I'm not adding sound to this one, but I am going to save it as it is. And to close this interface, I'm just going to click the X. And now you can see my effect is here, and I just need to publish it. So I'm going to publish, click publish. It's going to give me the warning that once the app is published, I won't be able to edit it anymore, and it'll remove the LUMOplay watermark. And then the app gets uploaded. And just a quick note, as this app is uploading, the software itself will store your app and it will revert back to a draft, as I said, if you cancel your Playmaker subscription or you downgrade to Playground. But we do have a bit of a purging process that we're exploring right now. So if you have a bunch of Motion Maker apps, at some point in the future, we'll be making an announcement about how long we're going to store them for, because we've noticed that there are people that will make and save or publish drafts and then they won't use them for years. So just to free up a little space and to avoid having to raise our prices for storage that people don't necessarily need, then I think this is a way that we can kind of reduce our costs and keep costs low for people. So if you're using Motion Maker, expect that announcement in the next little while. And that's it. Once the app has been published, the draft will disappear from my draft folder. I can go to the apps folder. I can type in heart-shaped Valentine. Now I did make a test of this, so this new one is the one that I haven't downloaded yet. To download it to this machine from our server, just click the download button, and you'll be able to do that and download it to any of the installations that you have. I hope you enjoyed this week's tutorial. I strongly encourage you to play with this template. It's really easy and fun, and there's a lot of other shapes that you can play with. This one is great for Valentine's Day. It's a little bit more inclusive than, giving some people Valentines and not giving them to other people, or I don't know. I just remember kids being pretty cruel when I was a kid. So you put this in your classroom and everybody gets a nice Valentine's Day message that they can engage with. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you have enjoyed this video, please like or subscribe. If you're feeling very generous, hit the notification bell. It helps us a lot. We're a really small team and we rely on our community to help promote what we're doing so that we can keep our prices as low as possible for schools and not-for-profits. Please feel free to reach out to me. Again, I answer every comment, or you can reach me at info@lumoplay.com. I'll be back next Tuesday with another video.